Heavy rain, strong winds, snow across the hills of Scotland. That's the pattern we are dealing with right now, and it is going to continue through the weekend and into early next week. I have been examining the latest data from the Met Office, the ECMWF model runs, and the UKMO outputs. And what we're re-seeing is a persistent southeasterly flow, bringing moisture-laden air across the United Kingdom, colliding with colder air over Scotland. That collision zone is producing some rather significant weather. Let me walk you through what's happening meteorologically. Then we'll break down the regional impacts, and I'll give you the practical guidance you need for the days ahead. Right now, conditions across the country are markedly different depending on where you are, and these contrasts tell us everything about the pattern we re-locked into. Across the southwest of England and South Wales, it's been wet, persistently wet. The Met Office has weather warnings in place this morning for heavy rain and strong winds. Coastal areas of southwest England and South Wales are seeing gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour, with some exposed locations potentially reaching 60. That is enough to cause disruption. Trees down, power outages, travel delays. The rain has been relentless. Ground saturation is a serious concern at this point. When the ground can't absorb any more water, that S when you get surface flooding, standing water on roads, spray reducing visibility. If you're re-driving in the southwest today, expect challenging conditions. Move north to Scotland, particularly eastern Scotland, and you are dealing with something entirely different. The same southeasterly winds are pushing clouds and moisture into the Scottish hills. But up there, the temperatures are low enough for snow, not just a dusting, accumulating snow over higher ground. The hills of eastern Scotland are seeing continuous snowfall. Between these two zones of active weather, there's a quieter band. Parts of mid-Wales and southeast England should see something drier and brighter this afternoon. If you are in these areas, make the most of any breaks in the cloud. They 1T last. Western Scotland, interestingly, may do reasonably well for dry and bright weather today. The southeasterly wind flow means you are in the lee, sheltered from the worst of it. But that S, location specific. Most areas across Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland should expect cloud and outbreaks of rain. Temperatures are struggling. We are talking about values barely reaching the seasonal average, and with the wind and rain factored in, it feels considerably colder than the thermometer suggests. That wind chill is significant, particularly across exposed areas. Now let's talk about what S driving this pattern, because understanding the meteorology helps you understand why this isn't shifting quickly. We have a deep area of low pressure swirling to the southwest of the United Kingdom. This low is not moving. It S sitting there, spinning, acting like a weather generator. The pressure gradient around this low is tight, which explains the strong winds. The counterclockwise circulation around the low is pulling that southeasterly flow across the UK. That southeasterly wind is the key. It is coming off the North Sea, picking up moisture and delivering it to eastern Scotland, where it meets colder air aloft. Rain at low levels, snow on the hills. Classic setup. The ECMWF model has been consistent on this pattern for several days now. The UKMO model agrees. The GFS, the American model, shows the same general picture. When all three major models align like this, confidence in the forecast is high. What we don't have is any immediate sign of this pattern breaking down. The low pressure to the southwest is forecast to persist through Friday night, through Saturday, and into Sunday. That means more of the same for the affected areas. Looking at the model runs from the past 48 hours, there's been some variation in the exact position and intensity of the low, but the overall pattern remains locked in. These small shifts matter for local impacts, but the big picture is stable. Let me give you the regional breakdown, starting with the areas facing the most significant impacts. Scotland, particularly eastern Scotland, you're in the firing line. The combination of persistent rain at lower elevations and snow over the hills continues through tonight and into Saturday. Accumulations over higher ground will be substantial. If you are planning any travel over the higher routes, check conditions before you set out. Some roads may become impassable. The snow level fluctuates depending on the intensity of the precipitation and the exact temperature profile, but generally we were looking at snow above 300 to 400 meters. Lower than that, it S rain. But that rain is heavy at times, and with saturated ground, localized flooding is a real risk. Western Scotland, you're in a better position. Sheltered from the southeasterly flow, you should see drier and brighter conditions at times. But don't assume you're entirely in the clear. Weather systems are dynamic and conditions can change. Northern England and Northern Ireland, you are seeing rain track northwards again today. It's not constant, but when it comes, it is heavy enough to cause spray on the roads and reduce visibility. Friday night into Saturday, expect wet conditions to continue, though perhaps not quite as intense as what the southwest is dealing with. The Pennines are a transition zone. Lower elevations see rain, higher elevations see sleet or wet snow. It S marks marginal. Small temperature changes make a big difference. Moving south, Wales is caught in the middle of this pattern. North Wales is seeing rain, sometimes heavy. Mid Wales has brief drier interludes, but Don T count on them lasting. South Wales, particularly coastal areas, you are dealing with the strong winds as well as the rain. That combination makes for unpleasant conditions. Southwest England from Cornwall through Devon and into Somerset, you've been dealing with persistent wet weather. And the warnings are in place for good reason. The rain keeps coming, the winds remain strong, and the ground is saturated. If you live in a flood-prone area, stay alert. Monitor Environment Agency updates. Have a plan. The winds along the coast are the concern here, 40 to 50 miles per hour sustained, gusts higher. Coastal flooding is possible during high tides, particularly if the wind is onshore at the wrong time. Check tide times if you are in a vulnerable location. Southeast England, you are in a relatively favoured position. Drier and brighter this afternoon, though cloud will linger. But you are not immune to the broader pattern. Outbreaks of rain will push through periodically. East Anglia, conditions have been rather quiet for you. Not much happening. That continues through the weekend. You are in the drier sector of this pattern. The Midlands are seeing a mix. Cloud, some rain, but nothing particularly dramatic. Temperatures hovering around 6 or 7 degrees. Grey, not inspiring but not dangerous either. Now let's talk about Friday night, because that S, when the pattern intensifies in some areas, the low pressure to the southwest deepens slightly. The pressure gradient tightens. Wind speeds increase. The rain becomes heavier across the southwest. If you're replanning travel Friday night in Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, or South Wales, reconsider if possible. Conditions will be challenging. Heavy rain, strong gusts, surface water on roads. It's not a night to be out unless you have to be. Eastern Scotland, the wet weather continues to feed in. Snow continues over the hills. Lower elevations see persistent rain. Roads will be wet, visibility reduced. Elsewhere, conditions turn a bit drier overnight, but with enough wind and cloud cover, temperatures will hold above freezing for most areas. No widespread frost. But it want to feel warm with that wind. Saturday brings more of the same, which I know is frustrating for those hoping for improvement. The southeasterly wind continues to feed cloud and wet weather into eastern Scotland. More snow on the hills, more rain at lower levels. The accumulation continues. Wales and southwest England, that low pressure system is still swirling nearby. Rain, sometimes heavy, particularly across western areas. The winds remain brisk, gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour in exposed locations. Between these two zones of active weather, there will be showers, but also some drier and brighter interludes. If you're in the Midlands or parts of southern England, Saturday should offer at least some breaks in the cloud. Temperatures on Saturday struggle to reach even the high single digits. Best case, you're looking at 8 or 9 degrees Celsius. Eastern Scotland, with the persistent cloud and rain, you'll be lucky to see 5 or 6. And with the wind factoring in, it feels a lot colder than that. The southwest may reach double figures, 10 or 11 degrees, but with the gusty wind and the frequent heavy showers, it really won't feel pleasant at all. Sunday shows signs of the pattern calming down slightly, but only slightly. The low pressure begins to fill, which means the winds should ease a bit. The rain becomes less intense in most areas. But we're not talking about a dramatic improvement, just a gradual easing. More wet weather is forecast for Sunday, but it should be less widespread and less heavy than what we were seeing Friday and Saturday. Some parts of the UK will see genuinely drier conditions developing. The problem is, even as this current system weakens, the models are suggesting further unsettled weather early next week. We're not transitioning to high pressure and settled conditions. We're just moving from one low pressure system to the next. Now let's talk about confidence levels, because I want to be clear about what we know and what we done T. For the next 48 hours, Friday and Saturday, confidence is high. The models are in strong agreement. The pattern is established. We know what S coming. For Sunday and into early next week, confidence drops a bit. The exact track and intensity of weather systems become less certain at that range. But the general pattern of unsettled wet weather continuing looks likely. What we are not seeing in any of the model runs is a shift to prolonged cold and snow for southern parts of the UK. The southeasterly flow keeps milder air in place across southern areas. The cold air is confined to Scotland, and even there, it's marginal. Some of you have been waiting for a proper cold snap. East Anglia, I know you've been hoping for snow. The pattern we're in doesn't support that at the moment. The flow is wrong. We need high pressure over Scandinavia and a northeasterly or easterly wind to bring sustained cold to southern Britain. We done to have that set up. Could the pattern change? Of course. Weather patterns always change eventually, but there is no sign of it happening in the next 7 to 10 days based on current model guidance. Now, practical guidance. What do you need to do? If you re in the southwest of England or South Wales, stay informed. The Met Office warnings are there for a reason. Monitor updates from the Environment Agency regarding flood risks. If you live in a flood-prone area, move valuable items upstairs if possible. Have a torch to hand, make sure your mobile phone is charged, driving conditions are hazardous, surface water spray, gusty winds. If you don't need to travel, don T. If you must travel, allow extra time, reduce speed, and use your headlights. Scotland, particularly eastern areas, the persistent rain and hill snow create their own challenges. If you're replanning any hill walking or outdoor activities, postpone them. Conditions are not safe. Poor visibility, accumulating snow, difficult underfoot conditions. For those at lower elevations dealing with rain, the same advice applies. Roads will be wet. Spray from other vehicles reduces visibility. Drive carefully. Check on vulnerable neighbours, particularly the elderly. This sort of weather, persistent rain, strong winds, cold temperatures, it's miserable. And for older people who may not heat their homes adequately or who may have mobility issues, it can be dangerous. Make sure they re-warm, they have food, they re-not isolated. For everyone, dress appropriately. Waterproof outer layers, multiple layers underneath. The wind chill makes it feel colder than the actual temperature. If you are going to be outside for any length of time, you need proper clothing. One thing I want to address directly, because I know there is frustration out there about forecast accuracy, particularly regarding snow in southern areas. Weather forecasting is not an exact science. We use the best models available. We interpret the data as accurately as we can, but models change. Atmospheric conditions are chaotic. Small changes in one variable can have large impacts downstream. When a forecast changes, it's not because meteorologists got it wrong initially, it's because the atmosphere evolved differently than the models predicted at longer range. That's the nature of weather. What we've been seeing in recent days is model runs showing potential for colder air and snow to push further south, then subsequent runs backing off that scenario. That's not unusual. It's frustrating, I understand that, but it's honest forecasting based on the data available at the time. The current pattern simply doesn't support widespread snow across southern Britain. The flow is southeasterly. That's a mild direction. The cold air is locked up over Scotland. Until the pattern changes, snow in the south remains unlikely. Now, looking a bit further ahead, and I want to stress that this is lower confidence, there are some signals in the longer range models that the pattern may shift towards the end of next week or into the following week. Some model runs suggest high pressure building to the north or northeast of the UK, which could change the wind direction and allow colder air to push south, but this is 10 to 14 days out. Confidence is low. It may happen, it may not. What I can tell you is that the persistent, wet, windy, unsettled weather we are experiencing now continues through the weekend and into early next week. That's as far as I am willing to forecast with any real confidence. For those keeping an eye on longer range patterns, watch for any signs of blocking high pressure developing to our north or east. That's the setup that brings sustained cold to the UK. We don't have it yet, but patterns do change. In summary, we relocked into a pattern dominated by low pressure to the southwest, a southeasterly flow, and persistent wet weather, particularly for Scotland, Wales, and southwest England. Strong winds add to the misery. Ground saturation is causing flooding concerns. This pattern continues through Saturday. Sunday may bring slight improvement, but don't expect anything dramatic. Further unsettled weather is likely early next week. Stay safe, stay informed, check the Met Office for the latest warnings. And if you in an affected area, take the conditions seriously. This is winter weather. It deserves respect. For those hoping for snow in southern areas, I understand the disappointment. But I'd rather give you an honest forecast based on the data than promise something that isn't supported by the models. The atmosphere will do what it does. We interpret the data as best we can, and we give you the information you need to make informed decisions. That's the forecast. Stay dry if you can, and I'll continue monitoring the situation.